I've, I've been in the legislature for 16 years and I've been practicing law for 32 years. And during my time in the legislature, I realized that there was one great impediment to the state of Mississippi moving forward, and it is the Attorney General's office. I believe it's time that we had a conservative in this office that refocused the efforts of the Attorney General's office to the interests and the values of the people of the state of Mississippi. Let me give you an example. I believe that basically Jim Hood has sold the Attorney General's office to the highest bidder and has given away over 100 no bid, no lose contingency contracts and paid outside counsel over $100 million to sue businesses that have basically stood still long enough to be served with process. I think that if a business needs suing, that the Attorney General, the lawyer that the people pay for, and the lawyers that they pay for in Jackson should pick up that ball and try that case. And I also believe that we should be a lot more circumspect with regard to suing businesses and find ways to partner with businesses as opposed to persecute businesses. So one thing I think is important is to refocus the efforts of the Attorney General's office to fighting crime and protecting the public. For example, we talk about the opioid crisis greatly, and it is a crisis, and it's something that we have to deal with, but it's a twofold effect. We have to help President Trump secure the southern border. We have to work and bring public awareness to the fact that most of the illegal fentanyl and heroin and crystal meth that's coming in this country is coming from our southern border. And we have to find ways, and if it's coming through our southern border, it's coming to the state of Mississippi. And we have to find ways to work with the Trump administration to help them get their policies through that will secure the southern border and will build the wall. But more importantly, we need an Attorney General who will partner with federal, state, and local law enforcement authorities to find ways to interdict crime. Just this week, it was announced that Jackson registered its 32nd homicide of the year. 32 homicides, and we're not even at the halfway point of the year. Something has got to give. There needs to be leadership, and as Mississippi's chief law enforcement officer, as Attorney General, I believe I can bring the experience and the expertise necessary to find ways to address this problem. I've been a prosecutor, I've been a judge, I've been in the legislature for 16 years and actively practicing law for over 30 years. And so that's one of the major reasons that I'm running for this office, is to refocus the office back to protecting the citizens. One of the things that I also think is important is we need a conservative in this office. Just this year, we passed, and I voted for, the fetal heartbeat bill, which makes it illegal in Mississippi to perform an abortion once the fetal heartbeat is detected. The day after the governor signed that bill into law, a lawsuit was filed. We need an Attorney General that will send in the A-team and will win this case and be willing to take it all the way to the Supreme Court and fight all the fights that are necessary to protect the lives of the unborn. Then we look at other things, like just last week or the week before, the Humanist Society sent Mississippi a letter and said, either take "In God We Trust," which is our state motto, something that I voted for in the legislature, is on our state seal. Either take "In God We Trust" off the car tags, or we're going to sue you, or provide an alternate. No, we're not going to do that. That is our state seal. "In God We Trust" is on our state seal because in God we do trust. And we need an Attorney General that will stand up to groups like the Humanist Society, and when they come to Mississippi and they claim that they threaten to file a lawsuit, we tell them, come on, file your lawsuit, see what happens. Just a couple weeks ago, the Michigan Attorney General nullified a state law that protected religious organizations like Catholic Charities and Bethany from protected them, and said you do not have to check your religious beliefs at the door to engage in adoption and foster care services in Michigan. By the stroke of that pen, essentially said that if you adhere to your religious beliefs, then you cannot engage in adoption and foster care service in Michigan, even though there are non-religious organizations that do so and can make placements. This is important for a couple reasons. One, Mississippi has just such a law. And two, the ACLU is coming. And so we need an Attorney General who's willing to stand up to the ACLU and others who are trying to force and working their way to force religious organizations to get out of arenas like adoption and foster care services, where they provide such vital support and service. Those are just a few issues. Another issue that I think is very vitally important is this office, as I told you, needs to get back to fighting crime, needs to get back to partnering with the district attorneys, needs to get back to partnering with law enforcement to find ways to interdict crime. But this office needs to lead in that. Public corruption and political cronyism has to stop in Mississippi. Our current Attorney General, I can't recall the last case that he prosecuted for public corruption. All of those cases are occurring through the U.S. Attorney's Office. Our Attorney General needs to step up and prosecute cases where public corruption has occurred. It's the responsibility of the office, and as the Attorney General, I will pursue that. Well, I'll tell you, I've been in the legislature since 2004. When I was elected, Republicans were in the minority. And when I tell you we were in the minority, when you're in the minority, you are really in the minority. And we fought for years during that first 4-year term to get conservative policies passed. And we had some successes. We passed tort reform, then hailed as one of the most comprehensive tort reform laws in the country. And we moved to address lawsuit abuse and some other things like that. But we could not get over the hump when it came to cutting taxes and reducing spending and eliminating the dependence on one-time money. And there was just a lot of problems. And and so the big issues that we needed to hit and we needed to tackle, we just couldn't do it being in the minority. 4 years later, we came in and we thought we had cobbled together the Republicans and a group of conservative Democrats, because we still were in the minority, to elect a conservative Speaker of the House. And you may recall that election there were 3 tie votes for Speaker, and then ultimately the vote flipped and Billy McCord was reelected Speaker. And it was, again, 4 more years in the wilderness. I mean, I didn't even have an office with a door you could close. So I went to the Republican caucus and I said, if you will elect me leader, in 4 years, we will come back with a Republican majority. And during that period of time, we will go around the state, we will take our message, we will raise money, we will find great candidates, and we will come back and we will have a majority. And sure enough, in 2012, we did just that. And we came back and Philip Gunn was elected the first Republican Speaker since Reconstruction. And from that time till now, I have served as the chairman of the Judiciary Aid Committee. It has been my fervent effort as chairman of the Judiciary Aid Committee to reform the Office of the Attorney General. We passed Sunshine in 2012, which began to address some of this what I call public lawsuit abuse. But unfortunately, there are several components to that we were unable to get passed in subsequent sessions. And so I'm not looking to be your next governor or lieutenant governor. This is not a track for me. I'm not a bureaucrat. I haven't been in government forever. I've been in private practice and a part-time legislator, and I signed the front of a check. But as I did when I became the Republican leader, I saw a need. I saw that there had to be a change. And with that change has come so much. We have reduced taxes over $400 million. We have aligned our spending with our revenue, and we're no longer dependent on one-time money. We have passed the strongest protection abortion for lives of the unborn in the country. We have protected and preserved the Second Amendment rights. We have engaged in all manner of conservative policy that has been so effective. The problem now, though, is that, and has been for some time, is that the governor and the lieutenant governor, the legislature, and Mississippi Development Authority, and the entirety of state government is moving in one direction to try to find opportunities, business opportunities, economic development, things that will help our people provide good jobs, jobs that'll want them to stay in Mississippi and raise their families. And we hear about college kids leaving and whatnot. We have been working to stop that, to stem that, and to provide economic opportunity. But at the same time, working at cross purposes has been the Attorney General. And he has been holding the state back. And he has been suing business after business after business. And he is disrupting and just completely altering the opportunities that we have in Mississippi to move forward. And I'll give you an example. In 2004, Mississippi was ranked 49th by the Harris Institute, which is a polling group that was retained by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to look at civil justice systems throughout the country. And Mississippi was considered a judicial hellhole at that time in 2004. We were second from the worst. And in 2004, we passed some of the most comprehensive tort reform in the country. We had cases where lawsuits were filed that had more plaintiffs than people that lived in the county. It was out of control. And we passed substantial reform in that regard. Fast forward to 2017, the Harris poll comes out and Mississippi's ranked 44th. We haven't moved up very much. But understand that those people that are polled are 1,350 to 1,400 business CEOs, economic developers, people that make the decisions as to where businesses are going to locate and invest capital. And the number one concern raised by 85% of those polled was, what is the civil justice system like? And so fast forward to 2017, and because of all these outside counsel contracts, because of all these continued lawsuits filed by the Attorney General's office, because of all that, Mississippi is still seen by the rest of the country as having a civil justice system that is not good for business. And as long as we have that, and until we do something about that, we are going to continue to lose economic development opportunities. And I will tell you this, I have been to every state, every county in the state. I have spoken to groups of all kinds. I have gone now during this, I started my campaign in May. In fact, today is one solid year since we announced our campaign. And so, but for the last several months, I've been to campaign events and other political rallies, and to a person running for office for supervisor or a county office, you name it, to a person that's running for those positions. A main component of why they are running for office is to bring more economic opportunity to their area, to that county, to their district. To a person, each and every one of them have said that. And so we are doing what we can do on the state level to help them do what they can do on the county level. And the proof is in the pudding. We've had major projects announced over the years, but the number of projects we've lost because of the harassment that occurs from the Attorney General's office is untold. The damage that is being inflicted and the earth that has been scorched, so to speak, has been untold. And I will tell you this, as long as you give a contract to a lawyer, and I'm not blaming the lawyers, they were given the contracts, but their interest is not public policy. Their interest is not the public interest. Their interest is collecting money. And when you remove the public interest component from that type of litigation, when you hand the ball off to somebody else, you lose the opportunity to do that which is in the best interest of the citizens of the state of Mississippi. And you lose the opportunity to come to resolutions that may include opportunities for the business to do business in Mississippi as opposed to cut a check. And so we've just got to do better in that regard. We've got to do better. We've got to refocus the office when it comes to partnering with district attorneys and prosecutors and local law enforcement, federal law enforcement. We've got to do what's necessary to fight crime in Mississippi and to provide the tools to law enforcement and to partner with them. They're doing a great job. At some point, when I talk to the local sheriffs, many of whom have supported me in this campaign, great departments doing yeoman's work, 24/7, completely doing everything they can. But we need to find ways to put state resources, make state resources available for local law enforcement so they can continue to do the things and to serve and protect as they do. It's critical. One of the things I tell people is that I'm not looking. I think it's important to point out. I didn't look for this job as an opportunity to do something else. I've only ever run for 2 political offices. One was the House of Representatives, which I was elected and reelected to 4 times, and could have run a 5th time and would have likely been unopposed. And the other is the office of the Attorney General. And the reason for that is because just as I saw when I was elected to the House of Representatives, just as I saw there was a need for somebody to step up and make a change, and then worked to make that change, just as I saw that, I see that in the Attorney General's office. So the same passion, the same drive, and the same planning, and the same work that I put into going around the state from 2008 to 11, 7 to 11, the same effort that we put in, the same teamwork that we developed, that is what we will bring to this office. Because when I survey the state of Mississippi with regard to the impact that an office can have on the daily lives of Mississippians, the impact that this office can have on the daily lives of Mississippians, we need to make sure there's a conservative in this office that will do the things that the legislature enacts and will work to support and protect the values of Mississippians. And I tell people this office has become the most politicized office in the country. Legislatures across the country, if I had a map and I went across the country, have turned red. The president Republicans have the presidency, we have the U.S. Senate. The midterms have changed the House, but that will change back. And so liberals that are looking to do things that are contrary to our interests, like some of the things that we've talked about today, are going to the courts. And the fights that are affecting Mississippians are occurring in the courts, not only in Mississippi, but all throughout the country. And we need an Attorney General who will engage in those fights, who will not leave it to the governor or defer to this or whatever. And we can go back to Obamacare when our Attorney General refused to join the fight, or we can go to some decisions that came out of the Sixth Circuit with regard to sexual harassment and the definition of sex, which is, the Sixth Circuit said, didn't included gender identity as opposed to just a biological and physiological distinction, and where our Attorney General would not engage, and we had to have our governor engage in that, had to step up. And so I think what people need to know is that I have 16 years of on-the-record votes. I have been graded and rated by conservative groups and been previously endorsed, not in this campaign yet, but previously endorsed in other campaigns by Right to Life and NRA. Received highly favorable ratings from BIPEC and American Conservative Union and AFP, and you know, and this is important because for too long politicians tell you what they're going to do and say what they promise and do this other stuff. And I tell people the proof's in the pudding. So if I tell you I have a 100% record on protection for the lives of the unborn, if I have a 100% record on Second Amendment, if I have a 100% record on pro-business from the standpoint of reducing taxes, or you name it, it's there. And I think that's important because it's too critical. These fights are coming too quickly, and it's too easy just to let it go. And the other thing I tell people is I've been actively practicing law for 32 years. And just like I have done in my law practice, and just like I've done for my constituents during my time in the legislature, I fight for what's right and I fight for them. And I've had thousands of clients, and you tried cases in courtrooms all over the state, weeks-long jury trials in federal court and state court. This election is about hiring your next lawyer, okay? And how you do that is it's word of mouth. You talk to your friends, your family, or you share that with them. You know, I'm not one of those advertising lawyers. I've always ever got business and maintained my practice based on referrals from clients. And I think that shows a commitment to the practice of law for those clients and a commitment to fight for them. I'm not always the nicest guy, but my clients don't hire me to be the nicest guy. They want somebody that they know is committed to their cause and will use every legal effort to prevail on their behalf. And I bring that effort as a practicing lawyer and as a legislator, I will bring that effort to the office of the Attorney General.